Russia sent everything. 2 complete brigades, more than 100 armored vehicles, tanks, and reconnaissance units. It was the largest scale ground operation they had attempted in months. The plan seemed solid on paper, a massive force that would break through Ukrainian lines once and for all. The attack began exactly as they had planned it. A mechanized reconnaissance unit led the advance, followed by the main force with tanks and APCs roaring across the terrain. Russian commanders expected a quick and decisive victory, but the reality of the battlefield had other plans. Within minutes, everything fell apart. One of the lead tanks hit a hidden mine while an APC was destroyed by Ukrainian artillery before even reaching the front line. The explosion completely scattered the Russian formation and caused total chaos in their advance. The Russian infantry, desperate, jumped into Ukrainian trenches hoping to hold ground, but were immediately pinned down by counterfire. They failed to take control of anything. And here comes the interesting part. The terrain itself was working against them. The area was full of forest belts, deep trenches, and minefields that slowed down every movement and exposed vehicles to constant fire. Within minutes, what began as a planned advance turned into a scattered and stalled offensive. Ukraine didn't even need to do much at this point. The Russian momentum had already been lost. Their lines were broken before the main force could fully enter the fight, leaving the front completely open for a counterattack. But what Russia didn't know was that their real problem wouldn't be the mines or artillery, but what was watching from the sky, calculating every movement, waiting for the perfect moment to counterattack. Ukraine responded with a speed that left the Russians completely unprepared. Their counterattack was quick and perfectly planned. Bradley fighting vehicles were used to transport troops directly to the front while providing intense covering fire. These armored vehicles played a key role helping infantry move safely through dangerous terrain full of craters, trenches, and mines. But that was just the beginning. At the same time, Ukrainian artillery launched cluster munitions against Russian vehicles that were regrouping behind the broken front line. These projectiles, which release many small explosives, damaged multiple armored targets and significantly slowed Russian reinforcements. The effect was immediate and lethal, especially against units trying to regroup. Then came the real masterstroke. Ukrainian drones in the sky detected another column of Russian vehicles approaching from the rear. Drone operators quickly sent coordinates to nearby artillery teams that opened fire before the enemy even got close. This coordination between UAV surveillance and long-range firepower made Russian movement practically impossible. Every Ukrainian weapon system played its part perfectly. The Bradleys pushed forward, artillery hit hard, and drones provided real-time intelligence. The result was a second wave of damage before Russia could stabilize. This phase of the battle showed how technology and timing can absolutely change everything. Ukraine wasn't just reacting, it was completely controlling the battlefield. After heavy losses at the front, Russian forces tried to change their tactics. Hoping to avoid direct artillery fire, they moved their remaining vehicles and troops toward a side road. They thought this new route would be safer. They were completely wrong. The new route wasn't safer at all. Ukrainian engineers had mined the area previously, and the first vehicles quickly triggered devastating explosions. At the same time, Ukrainian anti-tank missile teams, using precise targeting, hit armored vehicles stuck on narrow paths. Many of these hits came from hidden positions near forest lines, where Russian units had very little visibility. But what made things worse for the Russians was that their original reconnaissance team had already been completely eliminated. This left the remaining troops without frontal guidance and no way to detect threats ahead. In a desperate attempt to clear the path, Russia used APCs to find and activate mines, but these vehicles were quickly destroyed as well. Their loss only added more confusion to the situation. This phase demonstrated that Russia couldn't tactically overcome Ukrainian defense, even with changed tactics. Every movement was predicted and countered in real time. While Ukraine held firm, it became clear that the Russian assault was losing momentum, not just in firepower, but in direction and command control. Ukrainian tactical superiority was overwhelming, and the Russians were running out of viable options on the battlefield. While Russian forces struggled to advance, Ukraine turned to technology to take total control of the battlefield. Small FPV drones flew non-stop over the front lines, searching for targets among the stalled Russian vehicles. Once located, the drones dove into armored transports and tanks with lethal precision, frequently destroying them in a single impact. It was like watching the future of warfare unfold in real time. In addition to drones, Ukraine deployed guided anti-tank missiles, ATGMs, along narrow routes and forest lines. These missile teams were well hidden and had clear lines of fire. When Russian vehicles entered these zones, they became easy targets. Multiple armored personnel carriers and supply trucks were destroyed before reaching their assigned positions. The Russians were being systematically hunted. Bradley infantry fighting vehicles also played a key role. While Ukrainian soldiers on foot moved between trenches and tree lines, the Bradleys stayed behind and delivered supporting fire. Their 25mm cannons and advanced sensors allowed them to suppress Russian infantry and give Ukrainian troops the time needed to regroup or advance. This combination of modern technology and intelligent positioning helped Ukraine completely stop Russian movements. Instead of significant battles, every hit was calculated and exact, demonstrating that smaller, smarter weapons could control the fight more than brute numbers. While drones flew overhead and missiles hit from the flanks, the Russians were slowly losing their ability to move, fight, or respond effectively. Western tanks finally joined the battle as Ukraine pushed against Russian pressure. Leopard 2 tanks, donated by NATO allies, took positions behind the front lines. These German-made vehicles did not move quickly toward the minefields, but stayed at distance, providing powerful support with long-range fire. Their 120mm cannons fired across open terrain, targeting Russian armored vehicles trapped near forests and trenches. Each shot was carefully chosen, aiming to stop the enemy without putting the tank at risk. Their fire helped keep Ukrainian infantry protected and slowed the second wave of Russian attacks. Unlike lighter vehicles, Leopard tanks are designed to survive under heavy fire. Their thick armor and thermal sights allowed them to fight day and night. This gave Ukraine a stable firing platform and made it harder for Russia to break through with speed or surprise. The Leopard's role was not to lead a charge, but to reinforce defensive lines. While drones and Bradleys hit from the sides and sky, the Leopards brought the weight of Western technology to the center of the fight. With each shot from the Leopards, Ukraine reminded Russia that this battle was no longer just local. It now had the backing of some of the world's strongest military machines. Western technological superiority was being demonstrated in real time. State-of-the-art weapons systems, combined with Ukrainian tactical coordination, were creating a devastating synergy that Russia simply couldn't match with its brute force approach. After the collapse of the first assault, Russian forces tried again with fresh troops and more armored vehicles. This second wave looked stronger, but followed the same roads and made exactly the same mistakes. As the new column approached Ukrainian defensive lines, it quickly encountered landmines and long-range artillery attacks. Ukrainian drones detected the convoy early, sending coordinates back to hidden artillery teams. The artillery teams didn't wait. They fired cluster shells that exploded over the entire area, damaging tanks and APCs before they could even form up for an attack. Smoke screens and quick movements did little to hide the Russians from drone eyes. The battlefield layout hadn't changed. There were still deep trenches, forest belts, and open fields full of traps. During this chaos, a group of Ukrainian soldiers became trapped in a frontline trench. Russian artillery and small arms fire surrounded their position, and escape seemed impossible. The situation worsened when a soldier was severely wounded and told his team to leave him behind to improve their chances. But Ukrainian command refused to abandon their men. A Bradley fighting vehicle was sent under fire to reach the surrounded group. With drone support and covering fire, the Bradley crossed dangerous terrain full of mines and debris. While the enemy tried to close in, the rescue team moved fast. The trapped soldiers climbed aboard, helping the wounded man while evacuating. The vehicle didn't stop. It pushed through the fire and reached friendly lines, bringing the team back alive. At the end of the battle, Russia had lost more than just vehicles. It lost momentum and morale. Russian forces failed to break Ukrainian lines despite deploying 2 complete brigades and more than 100 armored units, including tanks and APCs. Their tactics, which relied on old-style frontal attacks, couldn't match the complexity of modern defense. The Ukrainian layered defensive system proved highly effective. Minefields stopped early advances. Artillery destroyed columns trapped in traffic, and drones hunted exposed units. Anti-tank missiles and NATO-supplied vehicles like the Bradley and Leopard 2 added another layer of pressure that Russia couldn't overcome. Every time Russian troops regrouped, they were detected by UAVs and attacked before they could gain ground. Even smoke and diversion tactics failed to protect them from the eyes in the sky. This operation showed the strength of asymmetric warfare, where a smaller, well-coordinated force with smart weapons can defeat a larger one using obsolete strategies. But here comes what's really important. What we just witnessed is not just the failure of a military operation. It's the practical demonstration that the rules of the game have changed forever. For decades, military strategists theorized about how technology would change warfare. Now we're seeing it in action. The real-time coordination between drones, artillery, and ground units that we saw here represents something completely new. We're not talking about traditional air superiority or more tanks. We're talking about an information ecosystem that turns every meter of the battlefield into a predictable and controllable place. Let's think about this. The Russians had superior numbers, combat experience, and heavy equipment. Under the old rules of war, that should have been enough to at least create a breach. But here, those traditional advantages were completely neutralized by something different: information and response speed. The reality is that we're witnessing the birth of a new military doctrine where information is more valuable than brute force. Eyes in the sky, instant coordination, and precision weapons have created an environment where moving without being detected is practically impossible. And this raises uncomfortable questions for any army in the world. How many of our current military plans are still based on concepts that we just saw fail spectacularly? Are we prepared for a world where war is decided more by who controls information than by who has more tanks? In the end, the battlefield was full of burned tanks, destroyed APCs, and broken plans. But most importantly, it was also full of evidence that the future of warfare is already here. Are we witnessing the end of conventional warfare as we knew it? After seeing this, I believe the answer is a resounding yes.